So today we're going to talk about one of the biggest challenges in these narcissistic empath dynamics, okay? And that is the need to defend yourself. Now, the reason why it's one of the biggest challenges, and maybe the biggest challenge, is because naturally, because of the nature of the situation, whatever that looks like for you, because the narcissist is constantly disproving, invalidating, gaslighting, doing everything possible to invalidate you. Your inner child will want to defend herself or himself, right? I mean, in any normal situation, who wouldn't want to defend themselves, right? However, in this particular situation, though, wanting to defend yourself, especially from the point of the inner child, actually weakens your position. It disarms you and could even delay you, okay? And here's why. First of all, you have to understand that you're not really on the same wavelength as the narcissist to begin with, okay? So it's the inner child that is. So when you're trying to prove yourself to an energy that is committed to misunderstanding you, and here's what I mean by that, because I don't, in this, while I'm sharing this information, I'm not here to blame the narcissist or disempower you by making you a victim. Although I do understand that that's a part of the process in the beginning. It certainly isn't a place you want to stay in if you want to be in your own power. But you have to remember that the narcissist's job from the higher perspective is to be the voice of everything that held you back, all of your insecurities, the voice inside your head that says you're not enough, that you can't do it, that you're powerless, that sabotages you. That is the job of the narcissist. And usually at a pretty intense level, right? It's at a level where it's in your face and it's screaming at you. And could be literally. Well, hopefully nobody's in your face screaming at you, because that's very threatening, and if you're in a situation like that, get out immediately. But you get my point. But that's the job of the narcissist. That is the narcissist's only role, is to pull you in and then reject you, abandon you, trigger all of those feelings, right? To make you want to prove yourself and defend yourself. That's the point. It's to trigger all of those feelings, all of those intense feelings that have held you back in your life. Because if you really look at the situation, everything that you feel from the narcissist is everything that you felt before you ever met that narcissist. If it's a boss or a relationship, or you felt those things before. You felt those things in other areas of your life. It's just their shining light in a very intense way now, where now you have to look at it and you have to see it. And it's really, really uncomfortable, right? And while the first part of understanding the dynamic is to judge it and to blame and obviously want to prove yourself, prove your position, defend your position, because you have to identify what's going on and how the behavior is terribly wrong, right? You just don't want to stay there. I mean, it is possible you stay there for a while because, that's what the conditioning caused you to do. And let's not forget, we're literally in a society that stands on these very principles. So it's way deeper than just a relationship you may be in or a boss you may have, or a friend, a family member. It's way deeper than that. A lot of this goes on in religion and, authority. I mean, there's just so many levels to this, And I do believe that's why there's such a highlight on it right now. But getting back to this, your inner child is going to want to defend herself a lot, okay? Constantly, it's going to want to defend herself. And rightfully so. That's a natural feeling when you are invalidated to this level, okay? And not only is the inner child going to want to defend herself, but there's going to be a part of you that wants to protect her or him, right? So that part of you that didn't get protected when you were supposed to be protected, when you were supposed to be defended, when you were supposed to be seen and heard, is going to want to buck up and defend. But in this situation, you exerting this kind of energy, first of all, is giving energy to the narcissist, okay? And it's taking from you. That's the very first thing that you need to understand. Which may make you feel powerful in the moment, because the first feeling that you probably will feel when that happens is anger. And anger does make us feel powerful, right? But after that, then comes shame and guilt, right? And why is that? Why is there that shame, the guilt come? Because, first of all, it could have been a projection from the narcissist from the beginning. Remember, we are empaths after all, so if you don't understand how this works and you don't walk in projection, we can easily pick up projection, right? And a lot of times their behavior is projection because of the shame they feel and the insecurities they feel. And if you're not careful and you don't understand how this works, they'll throw you the ball and you'll catch it. And now you feel all out of sorts, right? Because here's the thing, I'm sure as you know, every time you try to prove your worth, it's not possible. Because if you really know that you're worthy and if you really understand who you are, you really don't have to prove it. It just speaks for itself. And this is a really big key in this dynamic, in you developing that part of yourself. When you have developed that enough, which is why this trigger happens so much, this disproving, and why it's so intense, this invalidating, this disproving, this feeling of invisibility is so that you will reparent this part of yourself that doesn't feel seen, that doesn't feel heard, that doesn't feel validated, so that you will do it, right? That you will reparent the inner child and change perspectives. Because what happens is, in the process of reparenting, what you're going to notice is that when you give yourself the space Like, it's okay to feel anger and frustration, sadness, all the things that come up when this is happening, when the triggers is happening. But when you give yourself the space for you to see how you feel, when you allow yourself those feelings, because it may feel very uncomfortable to feel these things because you've been told not to feel. And by the way, your feelings are your superpower here, but you've been told that feelings, that you feel too much, or that you're too sensitive, or that you're just too much in general, when actually your feelings are your superpower. And in reparenting this part of you, there will be a balance that happens. There'll be a balance where you won't feel all over the place, and you will understand yourself on a much deeper level, and your feelings will not be able to be used against you. But it's you that first needs to validate yourself. And so what's going to happen in this process in reparenting is you'll notice that when you reparent yourself, when you take those moments out and you don't need to win at all cost, in that moment that you're triggered, when you go do the inner work and allow yourself the time to process it, you'll notice that the situation just kind of works itself out and you have peace, right? And then over time, however much time that will be for you, depending on, how quickly you learn or just how the process goes, you'll also realize that you're building up this confidence and this security and safety within yourself to where you are literally falling out of alignment with that narcissistic energy in your life. And it's not affecting you in the same way. You're going to start noticing that it's working because the triggering isn't happening like it used to, right? But it takes the process of having self-compassion, because you're really not arguing with the narcissist, okay? You are arguing with the part of yourself that doesn't believe you're worthy, right? You're arguing with, you're trying to prove it to yourself that you're worthy. You're never going to prove to the narcissist that you're worthy. You're never going to get the narcissist to be able to change your mind. And if the narcissist does change its mind, it will only be for a short time, just to kind of bait you back in to learn another lesson if need be, I guess. That's just the way it goes, right? That's the point of this. That's the purpose of this. And I will do a video on the purpose of the narcissist in your life. And what their purpose is in your life, because it's really important to understand that in the process and keep that at the top, so that when you forget what the purpose is, you can go back and remember. Because when you understand how this works and you look at this from a whole different perspective, you can approach this from a place of power and really see this in a completely different way. If you are finding that this is resonating with you and you would like support and coaching, I'm offering a 6-month one-on-one coaching package right now. This is a safe, confidential space. We meet twice a month with support messaging in between calls. I will leave that information in the description box.